Calvin Castine off camera, we got Judy Castine on the camera, and we're at Northeastern Clinton Central School. And usually when we see these two folks in front of us, we're talking about the annual school budget, but we're here on this December 9th, 2019, and a week before Christmas Eve, Northeastern Clinton's going to have a vote on a special project. And I'll let both of you introduce yourselves, and we'll get into this.
I'm Jennifer Brown, the business manager.
Rob Guerin, superintendent of schools.
And I've asked you both to use your outdoor voices so the camera will pick you up. So speak up if you can. Not that either of you are known to be bashful. $32,767,755. That's the proposed capital project balance, but your bottom line in the black ink says $2.9 million for Northeastern voters. But I'll let you go ahead and present this so that then I can ask questions. So rather than me starting off asking questions, probably a lot of them will be answered.
Okay.
So
we started the process towards the end of last school year, March and April, and one of the areas we had to do was to identify an architect engineering firm. We interviewed, we had 6 respondents, and we had interviewed 3 firms. We selected BBS as our architect and engineer firm, and then we proceeded to have a project manager, a construction manager that works closely with architect and engineers. There's been some times where we've heard from area school districts that have gone and hired the construction project manager after a vote that not necessarily did their costs between the architect and engineers align with the project manager, so we wanted to make sure and get that early, and we did have to sit down at the table and get more of our numbers more concrete. The other area about having a positive construction project manager is they're the ones that are going to be doing your daily operations, like your clerk of the work. So if we have something identified in our scope and it's not done correctly or not done well, then this is who we've hired to also make sure that they are managing the day-to-day operations of our project. Schoolhouse is very well known and has served a lot of our area capital project firms. And then we had fiscal advisors, which are municipal advisors to finance your capital project is financed over 15 years. So we've been working closely with them. So all the parties have gone together to work the numbers out and work the scope of work from our area moving forward with the capital project. We did have a task force. On that task force were administrators, building department heads. We had 3 community figures. We had Janet McFetridge from Champlain. We had Harry McManus from Ross's Point and Jeff Menard from Moores to get some of the pulse of the community as well that went into the planning. Some school board members. And then this is how we basically identified our scope of work. Overall, though, our scope of work comes from something called a building condition survey. That's a 5-year required by law state report that we have to analyze and send into New York State. So what it was, I identified items that have met or exceeded life expectancies. And as one could know from knowing that several areas have not been addressed of our facilities in 25 to 30 years, we had quite an extensive list of projects and timelines that needed to be met. So some of the areas of electrical, we have a high school roof. Our 2007 capital project addressed more of the needs of our elementary schools and did not really cover much of our middle school, high school. So just to go through a few areas of our scope of work as we move forward, here would be, could go for a walk I guess afterwards, but it's the existing structure beyond the middle school area. And
that's the entrance?
Yes, the 3 walls are already present. So where the end of the middle school library is to our business office would be a build out of those 3 existing walls. And what would happen is during the morning and departure time, so arrival and departure times, it's still going to be the same entrances for our students. So they would come in and then the doors would lock, and then finally from that time the doors locked, people waiting would enter through this controlled entrance, this controlled vestibule. Excuse me. How have we identified this as a need? Well, we definitely know there's going to be upcoming mandates, and especially with safety security initiatives. We have had some of the areas we've identified. So I was the administrator, excuse me, I was the elementary administrator for 8 years at Ross's Point. Being in my 5th year, I've been able to analyze, and the team's been able to analyze, that there are some concerns that we have regarding visitors. So we've had situations where in the elementary schools, if somebody needs to visit the guidance office, the nurse's office, or main office, it's basically contained in the main office, and the guidance counselor or the counselor or the nurse will be called to the office. Here, you could have a visitor signing out in the middle school and then walking through the hallways into the high school office to sign the high school student out. Or just what I've seen just in this in the past, just this September, was we had an elderly, I'm going to assume a grandparent, I'm not for sure on that, but going to get a sick child in the nurse's office. The bell sounded. You have about 350 kids departing they have 3 minutes to get from one class to another. And I was very, very concerned that while kids sometimes don't pay attention as they're walking, talking with their friends, that we were going to have somebody get knocked over in the hallway. Our special ed office is located in its own isolated island in the middle of the high school. So during meeting times, we could go through annual reviews at the end of the year, and you could have 16 to 18 guests coming in and walking through the high school hallways with our students all the time. So the purpose of this area was to control this entrance. So as you can see, which is just an area here, a student coming in, what that area to the left would be, so the district offices would all remain in the same location.
Okay, I see a stairway here.
Yep.
Now, right now, we're on the same level.
Correct.
How are we getting a stairway? Where's that?
So what you would do is it's basically going to be a buildup of that entrance, and that stairway is, because there's already stairs. If you see this entrance, there's already stairs that go up. So that's why I wish we could show you that visual so you could see it more. So you're going to have the students all through here, but through here is where any pickup will be. This is where your offices will remain. So the middle school office, the middle school guidance office, the special ed office, the high school office, high school guidance, and nurse's office will all be contained to what takes up our library now.
So people will come from the far left here?
Correct.
Enter?
Correct.
Okay.
Students will be called into this space as well. So another we're saying is for visitors now do not have to go all over the building, whether they're going to whatever office. It's going to be a contained entrance where students will get from both of those locations in this waiting vestibule. What it does is basically, again, separates our visitors from the employees and our students to enhance our security. And now this isn't just our visitors, meaning parents that come in. This could be vendors, whoever else has office meetings, whatever it may be.
Okay, and this is our modern world. This is, we all turn on the TV and hear those tragic stories, and this is a way to put another layer out there of
Correct.
protection. Not looking to inconvenience anybody, but that's the way the life is.
And that's the area, as I've shared with some of our other interviews, is our goal is always to be a welcoming place. So we want to be the magnet of the center of the community. But when it comes to the safety and security, I would hope all of our community, and I know that our community supports this initiative in terms of the fact that, just like families, to know that their kids are definitely safe and secured in their own entrance path. And again, all of our visitors, and basically they will be screened through assistants and working staff that they will be checking into.
Okay, right now, like today, Judy and I came in through the middle school entrance. That won't be open in the future?
That will not be open.
So all middle school, high school will be funneled
Correct.
through
the only
what
time
is now
that,
the high school
yep,
entrance.
The only time that will be open is when buses arrive and buses depart. Our kids will arrive, and once they arrive, it'll go under lockdown. And then basically from that point on, once the day starts, all visitors are going to come through this single point of entry, which also eliminates confusion.
Okay. How about, modified basketball is playing once the school day is done, and you want to get to the basketball court, that'll still be
It's
open?
still going to be, then your other functions that
So
typically
you
we're
can
used
still
to
get in
using.
through
Yes,
the entrance
yes,
I came in through
yes,
today, because the gym's right there?
Yes,
Okay. So this would be during the school day?
correct.
Okay. All right.
Here
Uh-huh.
we have the auditorium.
Yes, we do.
If you were to walk into the auditorium, you would see a nice big center hole right in the middle of the curtain, which you probably saw at the drama club. There'd be some new flooring, painting, sound system, lighting system. Again, all new seating. Again, areas that have not been touched for 30 years. We've actually had some people that have shared, some of our elderly that have come to watch the drama club that I've gotten to know pretty well, that one lady said she got stuck in the seat last year because it didn't rise. So that's my good old, I'll even say it, 'cause she's a comedian, my Beverly Maynard. She keeps us in line as she uses the pool a lot and so on. Just very, very proactive about school functions and the operations, and it's really, really nice to hear that the support of people that were often when people get older, they feel less connected to the school, and making sure that we're finding very strategic that, again, we're keeping all areas of understanding our audience out in the community and the uses, and hopefully we can bring more people in. This is also a multi-purpose room. People think often just your drama club, but those are all your awards, your National Honor Society, your Harvard Model UN, parent function, college visits. We had sports functions in there, so it really is the central piece of the meeting place of major school functions at our school.
Okay.
Here's one of the tricky ones.
Pool.
So what happened was we asked for a report about a year and a half ago, somebody to come in and analyze our needs for the pool, because we were taking a lot of funds from our annual operating budget to maintain the pool. And we wanted to see, what was the life expectancy for the pool and as needs for the future, because to be quite honest, it's something that we planned on bringing to the board to say, this is the amount of operating costs and can we still afford this? Well, after the report, it came back that our pool expectancy, that even continued maintenance costs would be could go about another 10 years. But that was also introduced in our capital project, because the 85% resulting state aid would be that $1 million 21st century pool would be a cost of $150,000, because it's enhanced programming space for our students as well. One of the questions we were asked during our capital project meeting, informational meeting last week, was the windows, about just the need for the wind and stuff coming in. Private, like Northern Adirondack has some areas of windows, so there are some schools that have that. But one of the areas we continue sharing with people is right now it's all conceptual. So we know we need a new pool. Does not mean that the windows are going to look like that, or there even are that many windows. It's simply the part of, we need these things in the auditorium, we need these things in the pool. But what it comes down to, with the approval of the vote, then you get down to the true planning. You get down to what is it going to look like, and things like that. And so to increase our efficiencies, and by having an up-to-date pool, is actually going to lower our annual maintenance costs as well. So again, all of what we're showing you here is simply, we know the work that needs to be done in the scope, but it's conceptual. It's not what it says, again, how this looks right now is immediately going to be the future. We just know that we're going to be moving forward with the 21st century pool.
Yeah, I believe there's no windows in the pool area now, is there?
No. A new locker room upgrades. Actually, some of our community members on the task force actually pointed that out, like, those locker rooms and some of these bathrooms look the same when we were in school. So it was nice to hear that community perspective, as well as being able to recognize and analyze that as well. One area that I think we need to do a better job of as a district is marketing our pool. So our students use it for middle school, high school swimming lessons. I could tell you by high school, they're more concerned about how long their hair is going to be wet and so on. So it's not always the biggest support area there, but we have Hudson Headwaters down, and I'm not saying this is going to happen, is conversations at the table for possible OT, PT kinds of opportunities, more open swims. How do we get the outside in? We have a lot of active senior citizen groups. I don't want to even say senior citizen. We even have employees and things in use of. But how do we do a better job of marketing the pool and getting, again, the outside in?
Okay.
Here is, as you may be aware, Calvin, because I know you've been very faithful to our athletic programs, and I've been able to tape a home track meet. So we're on year 3. Our track has been deemed unfit for competition because of the unsettled gravel and just everything that's coming up off the track. We can practice on it, but we cannot compete on it. So again, we're in our 3rd year going to visiting everybody else's track. So what's going to happen is there'd be a track with an artificial soccer turf inside the track. Right now, that is just where the existing track is right now. It's going to just be shifted a bit, but that's the location plan for this area. Here would be, right now, we also have another disadvantage, that we have a tennis head coach and a tennis assistant coach. The team has to be nightly split up because we do not have enough courts. So some have to get in vans and go down to the Rosses Point Rec Center. So the addition of the 2 courts would be able to keep everybody on home site and not have to split up the coaches and the team. Some additional parking. Now here's what I want to again talk about when the word conceptual. Doesn't mean again that track is going to stay exactly where we have it here. There's actually talk of a new area, more of seeing it from the roadside, but we don't know what the financials and all that piece comes to. So the conversation is 2 tracks, resurfacing, additional parking, track, indoor soccer, and tiling of our baseball, softball fields. Our baseball and softball fields look like flood zones in the spring. We got to flip our schedules half the time to go travel to opponents' contests first and ask them to flip the schedule, and they come to us at the end of the year. So we have some true drainage issues as well that we'll be looking at tiling of the baseball, softball field. So an athletic committee was put together of coaches, staff, athletic director, board members, and parent members to kind of analyze that area as well, because you got to definitely listen to the voice of the people in terms of that's going to be the daily operations. So, and then somewhere in a centralized area would be a concession stand. Concession stand, some additional storage, as well as bathroom facilities. If our whole goal is to enhance our security, we don't really want people having to traffic into our building at 9 p.m. to use the facility.
Right.
So that would be outside as well.
And the most important thing is, where's the press box?
Hopefully we can build that right into that area. So that space is going to be quite unique in the sense of, because you don't want to have an area like this and we're still using the porta potty or people still coming in to having it inside the building.
Right. Right now is the existing area for the shot put and discus, but there's jumping that goes on too, long jumps.
Correct. That's inside the track.
It'll be inside the track.
Yep.
So even though you need a soft landing place, it's not going to interfere with the.
No. So those areas, as far as specifics, like we know it's going to have to be removed. Another area that's going to be affected will be the cross country course. So while you can go down to Lower Hill, there's still some running that gets taken. So I mean, there's going to have to be some reinventing of coursework and where locations are. But with the utmost confidence and the excitement that our athletic committee has going into that, I'm sure we can definitely work that out.
So this would end up looking similar to what Plattsburgh High School has and what Beekman Town's new.
Correct. Sable.
Yeah.
And the reason why I say I have not been to Beekman Towns yet, but the reason I say Plattsburgh and Sable, because I've been able to see that you can see like their concession area and the storage and the bathroom facility. I can visually see that right now.
Well,
So
yeah,
I'm
well,
very-
Beekman Town, I'm just talking about the field itself.
Yes,
No, Beekman Town
yes.
had no outside restrooms this year and no convenient concession stands, so that's still being conceived. But and of course, the problem with the Sable Valley field is that the inside of the track was actually kind of small, so Sable Valley soccer field is rather a small soccer field. So you're going to kind of build this with the idea that
Correct.
you're doing it for both sports in mind. We haven't got to worry about a football field here at Northeastern, but like the other schools
Correct.
do. But
Well, you know, the other area, and I will say that we've had our highest state aid percentage given to us in years, so at 85%. 99% of this project fits the scope of aidable. So we're very strategic in planning on how, and where that part of that percentage comes is right now we're still looking into, but the concession stand may not be considered aidable, but it's
Right.
considered needed. So that's to an area that, to why that's not full, but our fiscal advisors are very, like I said, they do this, and we're so impressed with our numbers. And I want to say that our start of this scope was going to be not to exceed 25 million. And then we saw the resulting state aid, and then the 99% that's considered, it was so minimal to see, because what happened was we're going to not max at 25. We still had a lot of items on the building condition survey that weren't addressed that we're going to have to either put in the operating budget without getting state aid,
right.
putting into a 100,000 annual project, which is going to just touch it. So the whole purpose why we got into this was the minimal impact is we're getting more done at a more aggressive timeline at a lower cost to our taxpayers with the highest percentage of state aid. And I would like to add also that we knew this was coming. So we planned for this day, and we've been really good at still trying to maintain support of what's in-house here as far as programming and needs, but we've also been a little good at saying no, in the sense of having to plan and try to put everything to it. So we were able to apply $2 million out of our general fund balance of basically our savings to apply to help offset the local share to the cost. So the 32.7 ends up getting, it would have been 4.9, but because of us applying $2 million to the fund balance, ended up being 2.9. Another question, Calvin, that was asked was about the 85% aid of, like, well, isn't this, already into taxpayers, money and so on? And you're right, but if you're not doing capital projects, somebody else is getting
Right.
it. So it's time to get our own money.
Yeah.
And so we're very, very, very excited. And like I said, if you look at all this group of people involved in athletics, people involved in the arts, people involved in health and wellness, every area is, and then safety, security, obviously our priority. Every area has been hit and addressed into the project. And please note also that our elementary schools will have upgrades to their controlled entrance too, in their vestibule, and work done on projects and so on. There's also contingency built in that number. So let's say, I hate that dirty A word, but asbestos, if we hear, so the gym, has all buckled at Ross Elementary School, that we've had problems with issue of water underneath, and kind of like band-aided it. So we have in the scope to get a new gym that, well, you go into that surface, you may spot something. Contingencies have been built into every area, and every area is our schools that have been included in that number. So we aren't interested in going, oh my goodness, we just found a very large problem and now we didn't have to an area. It's all built in. The mistake is built into the scope.
So if you don't run into those problems, you could actually be spending a little less than.
It
conceivably.
could, and then where the good part with that would be is, because we've had this conversation, we're hoping, because there's still other needs that we still haven't even
Right.
had addressed, that as long as we stay within the scope,
You can funnel it over
Yes.
to something else. Okay, so you've got each of the schools addressed. I assume that every potential taxpayer got one of these in the mail?
yes. Should have.
Not just the registered voters,
Correct.
but
And
all.
it's also on our
registered
NCC,
Voters,
Nope.
all
Yeah,
taxpayers?
yeah, all taxpayers.
and it's also
Residents.
on NCCScougar.org on our website.
Website.
So every building has areas that it will be addressed. And our bus garage, definitely a 30-year, dents all over in the siding and so on. So they'll get a metal siding replacement and then transfers of additional storage, a new fuel island, as well as some work within the office. The winter breeze can definitely get through their lack of insulation in terms of into the bus garage. So we'll be looking at addressing those areas too. So what we're very excited about too is going back to the centralized office location is, again, if you have loved ones in every area of the building, you're into one space and we get from wherever they are or wherever you need to see. So I think it's just much more manageable, because I think at times, even though areas are labeled, it can be confusing for the visitor.
Of course, if you're in an area you're not familiar with.
Correct.
And you've got 300 kids
Correct.
going upstream while you're going downstream.
Correct. And our debt falls off from our 2007 project in 2022, 2023 when we picked this debt up. So it's a very seamless transition between the two areas as we want to keep that going for your state aid.
Okay. Talk about that a little bit. You've got a debt. A part of our annual budget we're paying right now includes this debt, and I'm assuming this what your bottom line here is going to be similar to what that debt is, so it's not going to be changing the overall. Because I know in talking to people at Beekmantown, I didn't quite agree with the way they phrased it, but the guy I was talking to said it ended up didn't cost our taxpayers money at all, because it just assumed carried on where the old debt was. But if that old debt wasn't there, taxpayers would have been not spending that money. So you can't say it's not costing anything.
Correct.
It is costing something, except that it's not going to be much of an increase, if any.
Mm.
Is that correct?
Correct. The only increase that you see is the difference between the $22.5 million that we borrowed the first project and the $32 million of this project. So that's why it's only the 23 cents per thousand differential, and you're getting a $32 million project, is because we have that $22 million payment already built into the budget that everybody's used to already paying. If that falls off, then you now have to build into a future project the entire debt payment. We're just trying to piggyback so that that transition is seamless.
So when will that 22 million project be completed, payment be completed?
22, 23.
22, as this one goes on.
Okay, so this year, you're projected, somewhere in here we go. So you got all this construction going on. These people need to get paid.
Okay.
So how are we paying them if we're not gonna start paying for it?
We'll do 2 short-term borrowings. The financial interest rates built into the 2 short-term borrowings to get us so that our final bond borrowing, which is of 15 years, will start in 22, 23.
So that's
so-
all figured into
Correct.
your bottom lines here.
Yep.
So based on this, looks like we won't see much, if anything, going on for another 1.5 to 2 years.
We'll be looking at, so what happens is if approval of the proposed plan is accepted in December 17th, then we hit the ground running and take the conceptual and make it more to finalizing some plans. That could take a period of, till the end of the year, and then it's going to be, from what I'm hearing, New York State has expedited their process of reviewing plans, but then it's going to sit down there for a period of time. So we're looking at late spring of 2021 to start the project, with a completion of end of summer, latest early fall of 2023.
So as we're doing this, we're talking about 4 years from now before it's
Correct.
completed.
That's actually, Calvin, been the biggest complaint, but it's been excitable complaint, because I'm thinking, if I'm hearing concerns, from what I've been hearing, has been very, very positive, and we appreciate that support from community. Our juniors and seniors aren't as, I mean, they're very supportive, but they're just like more upset, like, how come I don't get to run on that track, and how come I'm not going to get to play on the soccer? And you just continue giving the education that hopefully they're local leaders of their own communities, and that it's going to be a family affair that when they get. So it was more of just the smiles of them going, the wows of this is what the possibilities for our school to look like, and just the opportunity that them to still have those, and that's what we share with them. I want to talk about the track. The track is used by community all the time. One of the areas of even the conceptual design is as simple as it sounds, but even having lights from the lower level, where somebody at 8 o'clock at night works a different shift, that they can come use the track. And so there really is, like I said, we're here for our students, but the same part is you're also planning for community. You want this to be the centerpiece of your school, and you also want people that are looking at relocating. We want something we can be proud of, not just for the academic rigor of we're really embracing moving forward with our technology initiatives, and it's an exciting time right now, but to know that you have these other opportunities for the arts and so on, not just your basic coursework.
Okay, so as we said, everybody has received one of these. If you didn't get one, or if you just tossed it out without paying much attention to it, they're more available here at the school if people want us to get it.
And on your front part, Calvin, where you have the impact to taxpayers, because we know that's always critical. So that's somebody, if you want to say somebody that has an assessment of 140,000, but they receive stars, so credit for 30,000, so it's 110,000 taxable, would be an annual contribution of $25.30, which the $379.50 comes from their contribution, that family's contribution, to cover for the entire project. What is not in here, Calvin, though, is also for somebody who has enhanced star, which is the $68,500. That's not on here. So somebody, a senior citizen, 65 years and older, that's on more of a limited income, will even see more of a reduction than that $379.
Right.
So we want people to know that that's a contribution for the entire project.
Annual.
Yes.
Annual.
The annual, but then the $379 would be for the 15 years. So we just want people that know that are more of on that fixed income, as everybody's having to watch their finances, that somebody has the enhanced star is even going to see a reduction from those numbers.
So you decided that contribution sounds better than tax?
Probably.
But it certainly shouldn't be a budget buster for anybody, and so much of this overall project is stuff that needs to be done. I was here a couple of weeks ago and talked to a couple of your able custodians in the hall, and they were talking about the problems you got with your roof, and you get a leak, and just because it's dripping right here, it doesn't mean that's where the leak is. It might be traveling 50 feet to get to that spot in your ceiling. So.
And it can take half a day.
Yeah. So
the other area is, it's interesting that you say that. Like last year, we host the model Harvard UN, something we're very proud of. We are the host school. We host 26 to 30 schools. Our kids are all dressed up, showing fabulous leadership skills, great pride in their school system and the program that they've worked so hard to plan and organize for. And then I went to visited one of the committee members and that are located, and the committee was being held in the high school cafeteria, and we had 2 buckets for dripping water, that are coming down from the ceiling.
Well, what you do is you put the third world countries in there, so they feel at home.
Yeah, they understand, yes. But it was just like, and those are the areas, and sometimes part of this project is people that contribute also want to see what they're getting from it. You're not going to see the roof, you're not going to see the boilers, but there are definitely going to be some improvements that can really get to an area of a good sense of community pride. And we've always had great support from our community. That's one of the things we're very, very fortunate with. And we have people that understand why we need to do it, and we encourage people to call us if there are questions of something that they don't know. We want everybody to be well educated. You know, we had 2 informational sessions. We have our newsletters. We've had different task force and group meetings. We'll meet one-on-one if somebody has, you know, any conversation. So we definitely want people to understand about our purpose of also future planning is we want the appropriate space for our kids to be able to play, learn, and grow, but we also want our community to grow as well and grow connected to their school. So again, I feel like the needs are definitely there, but it was very strategic in knowing that we hit all areas of our community.
Now, obviously, with the finish date of 2023, some of it will be completed. You're starting in 2021. Some of it will be completed. Do you have a priority list as you want this vestibule to be high? That'd be my thought. I don't know what your thoughts are. The roof is obviously...
Correct. We haven't really gone through that yet because, like I said, once December 17th comes, it hits the ground running. But because that's the other area too is, even when you go into some of your locations of classrooms and offices, you're doing some disruption. So we're trying to see what's minimal at most to the kids, to what can be more of a summer project, and there's a lot of work ahead. But as far as definitely like the roof is, I mean, that's something that's part of our everyday.
Right.
So looking at that, and also to what the contractors list, or you know what they identify as priorities, and our architects and engineers, because they'll still continue to inspect and analyze our facility needs.
Okay, so don't expect it to be not some things done. Some things will be completed before the 2023. So
Correct.
It's not they all end up at once.
Correct.
So. All right. And
Even with our congested traffic, you know, just in terms that it's adding additional parking. So just really, again, just continue to analyze that and have good conversations of where we're going.
So you're talking about the front parking lot here?
We're going to be looking at how the flow and what we need to do to increase some efficiencies.
Okay, so the vote is Tuesday, December 17th, 11 a.m. to 8 p.m. right here at the school and at the Moores Elementary School too, right? So the place where people normally vote for the school budget
Correct.
is where they'll vote for this.
We wanted to keep it consistent for everybody and familiar. And the other area, though, the only difference would be is because of the machines are having like their end of the year closeout reports, so there will not be machines. So it's going to be going back a few years to paper and pencil, yes or no. So the proposition will be on the paper ballot, and they will vote.
So we're going to have to count all these one at a time?
We'll have to have our workers count the total because, like I said, they were not accessible to us at the end of the year for closing down reports. But we'll make it work.
Okay. All right.
And you know, our area too is we really, I think in ending, as we're excited about this opportunity for our kids and community, but we also want people to, this is our opportunity to have a voice. You know, capital projects don't come around. We really want the pulse of the community. We want to know what people are saying. We're not just looking for, you know, our ultimate goal is successful vote, but I'd like to see a successful vote with a lot of people coming out.
Okay. So you want people to get out there and vote?
We do.
All right. Do we have anything to add over here?
You don't?
You've been awfully quiet. Is she always this quiet, Rob?
She's quiet.
She's quiet, okay. All right, so once again, Tuesday, December 17th, 2019, 11 a.m. to 8 p.m. Vote yes or no on this project, and that's the only question to be on there, yes or no, right? There won't be any other,
Correct.
anything else on that voting sheet. Thanks for taking time with us.
Thank you for taking the time to meet with us.